When you look at what's happened here in your few months in charge, how would you sum up what has been a whirlwind start for you?
Yeah, listen, I always knew it was going to be difficult. I always knew it was going to be a big challenge. Thankfully, my experiences over the 20 years have put me in good stead to think, well, you know what it is going in. You know it's going to be difficult, so don't be disappointed that it's not going to be. And as I've said from day one, the only way you can, in football these days, is respond to anything, is results, and get a few results. We've just seen Pochettino, who I think is if he can get the sack, then we all can, because he's done a wonderful job. And Jose's back, a wonderful 24 hours in football, but when a great one like Pochettino loses his job, then you do think, wow, what an industry it is.
You've only been here 4 months. Can you remember your first day? Does it seem like 4 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago. Yeah, Shanghai I was. Getting on a plane with Lee, and going to Shanghai and taking the first training session in sweltering conditions. Yeah, I can remember it all. And but quietly, you just try and get on with the job as best you can. Trying to ignore the negativity that's trying to surround you.
You talk about that flight that you got on over to Shanghai. Even with your experience in the game, do you get a little bit nervous? Do you get excited? Do you get the butterflies?
It was one of, people said it was one of excitement and a little bit of butterflies, because it was Newcastle. I felt a bit guilty towards Sheffield, who treated me so well, but I couldn't refuse it. This time, I regretted the last time after Sir Bobby, and this time I had to take it. I'm a Newcastle lad, so to be manager in Newcastle is every Geordie's dream.
What would you say your most unusual responsibility as a manager is? Be careful.
Oh dear me. Nothing surprises you what falls on your desk, and some stuff you have to keep in house, of course, and you have to gain the trust of player or staff or whoever it is. But all sorts of stuff always ends up at the manager's desk. Now we're called head coach. It's not supposed to be the case, and we have CEOs, and I'm sure Lee a lot lands on his desk too. But
does that bother you, being head coach rather than manager?
Listen, no, I didn't even ask the question whether head coach, manager. That doesn't bother me at all. No, I know I'm in charge, and I know it's my neck on the line. So it doesn't matter what title I've got. Then it's my responsibility. But there's all sorts lands on your desk, and over the 20 years I've got some belters, but I'll keep them for now. Being
a manager or being a head coach is such a wide-ranging job these days. What is your favourite part of that job?
Not this part.
Speaking of?
No, that could be one of the worst parts, especially here in Newcastle, with them lot and the scribes who scribble.
I'm going to hold you to
that. For me, the best part always is the preparation for the game. As now we're fully focused on preparing for Aston Villa, and that to me is always the best part of it, is going out on the training ground, even at my age, and watch and go and take a group of players and get them prepared. That's, for me, is always the best part of the job.
I used to run a Saturday amateur team, and I couldn't sleep the night before a game. Right? So God knows what it's like for you. Do you sleep okay?
Many sleepless nights, of course. I think with experience that helps you a little bit, but there's still certain times where you don't sleep well, of course, and that's always going to be part of the case.
I've asked you what your favourite part of being a manager is. What's the toughest part?
The toughest part is losing. Toughest part's losing, and there's going to when you come under the pump, as I call it, you lose 3 or 4 or 5, and then all of a sudden, in nowadays, then no matter who you are in management, then unfortunately you become under scrutiny. And of course, the bigger club you are, like this one, Aston Villa, you come under the scrutiny and the spotlight very, very quickly. And I think that is always still the most difficult part of the job, is to try and keep yourself and do what you believe in and do what you think is right, and try not to take in the criticism which comes your way. I don't read social media at all. It would be impossible for me, and I don't even take newspapers anymore, of course I watch the news and things like that and read the news, but try and stay away from it, because if you end up doing it, you maybe influence you, and that can not be a good thing.
What about the kids though? What about your children? Do they?
Oh, they take I think the biggest thing for all of us, your family, who are the most important, they feel it. Yeah. It influences them too, and they don't like their father being ridiculed, or their husband being ridiculed, or their brother, or whatever I am to them in their family. And my son can erupt at times. Even him, he's got to come off social media, because he's the first one to have a crack back, you know, which can only be a good thing. But that's the difficult thing, because it does affect them too, and you need a really decent stability around you and the family to understand what it is, and but sometimes difficult.
It was really interesting hearing you in your press conference earlier, talking so glowingly about Jose Mourinho. When you look at managers, when you were, I suppose, a player, and when you were a new manager coming through, who were the ones who inspired you?
Well, always the ones. Arsene Wenger helped me enormously. I remember I'd always think, thank you, when I was at Birmingham. I took 3 players off him who all did great for me, on loan deals. And Jose, Sir Alex, Jose in particular, from the day he walked through the door and said, I'm the special one, was, wow, wish I could be like that. He's got the lot. Yeah, I don't think many people would have listened. And then he got to back it up, of course, and he did back it up. And he was box office, and he was different, and he was refreshing for all of us to see this guy who's come in from Portugal to be where he was, and for that, like Pochettino too. I don't really know Pochettino, but I know how talented he is. What a job he's done.
So would you say Sir Alex was the obvious one? He's the inspiration.
Sir Alex was. I played under him for the best part of 10 years, and I've said many times it would be impossible to try and copy him. You cannot copy. You've got to be yourself. But there's certain things that you learn from him. Of course, you learn from him, and of course, the great thing about them all, Arsene Wenger, even Jose Mourinho, when you pick up the phone to them, they have a certain way, and Sir Alex has always got that humility which stands him out, because when you need a bit of advice, then he's always on the end of a telephone.
We've read about you out walking the dog. You've told us you go into Quick Fit to get your tyres fixed. You like the odd glass of red. What do you like? What do you sort of do in your spare time to switch off from football?
I enjoy that part, is the dog.
Because he doesn't answer back.
The dog, he doesn't answer back, and do you know all he demands is a walk? That's all he wants from you, and or she does. And no, I enjoy that part. I'm quite in that respect. I enjoy the cinema. I enjoy a bite to eat. I enjoy a glass of red. I'm like anybody else, and over the winter months we've become quite accustomed when we get a bit older to watch box sets. I think we've watched, me and the good lady have watched every box set that is out there at the minute. I think you're getting to a certain age when you know them all. So, but no, I just do the simple things like everybody else. I'm, a football manager. You're a football manager, and I'm privileged and I've been in the game 40 years or something. It's quite incredible, but I'm quite straightforward in that respect.
It's amazing the coverage that the managers in the Premier League get these days. I suppose it wasn't like that 20, 30 years ago. I mean, you just see yourself everywhere, don't you? How do you deal with that?
Especially since Sky and the Premier League have promoted this thing, which has just grown and grown and grown. Back in '93 when it started, we all didn't think it was going to grow and still be what it is today. We've got the best players in the world. It's all beamed all around the world. I've just been away on the other end of the world. It's on every night. The Sky in the Premier League. It's a wonderful product. With that, of course, comes intrusion. And for me, it's not just TV now, and the demands is social media is the difficult one, because it gives everybody a platform and everybody a view.
You mentioned players there. You've got a lot of leaders in that squad. When you look through your squad, who do you think would make a good manager one day? Who are the ones that stand out?
Sometimes you get a shock of who goes into it. I never thought Mark Hughes, for example, somebody I played with, would would go into it, you know, and did it. I never thought Ryan Giggs would. I never thought Ryan would. I always thought he'd maybe gone off into do films or something. Don't know what I thought Ryan would do, but do you know, for all of us who go in, and you're never surprised, it is, and I've seen many players and been there, when they come to the end, is what do you do next? And for a footballer, I don't care whether you're Alan Shearer or you're somebody who plays for Scunthorpe, your career's coming to an end. What do you do now, next? Because for 20 years of your life, you're practically institutionalised. If I say to these players tomorrow, you're in at 10 o'clock, they're in. And I must do this, and you can't be out, and you can't be seeing this, that and the other. You become practically institutionalised, and your life is like that. And for me, thankfully, the generation of the Lampards and Gerrard is a good thing, because for that era, I didn't see enough of them. In my era, there was 7 of us, 6 or 7 of us went on to manage. You know, Roy Keane, Paul Ince, myself, Mark Hughes, from the same team, all went on to manage. Yeah, in that decade, I didn't see the big players going into it. Thankfully, Gerrard and Lampard have shown that they've still, even though the great careers they've had, they want to still be involved with football.
You talk about, you know, social media and sort of some of the things that are said and the things you have to deal with, and the fact you have to have a thick skin. Despite all of that, do you still enjoy it?
I decided when I got the phone call, when I found out it was real about Newcastle, I said to myself then, I know it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to enjoy this if I can, and ignore the criticism. You know you're going to get a bit of flack. You're going to go and manage Newcastle. You have to accept it. And I was determined that I was going to try and enjoy it. And you know something, it's 4 months has flew past, and it's been difficult, don't get me wrong, been difficult, but I wouldn't have swapped it, because at the end of the day, I'm the head coach or manager of Newcastle United. How lucky am I? And I'm determined that I'm going to enjoy it. There's going to be difficulties along the way, but determined to try and enjoy it.